E360 TV proudly presents messages of inspirational stories. Live streaming now to millions of devices, including Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, with your host, Donna and Jim, producer and host, Jim Grant, producer and host, along with Michaela Vidal, administrator and host, and Gaia Ginwa Balconi Wada, editor-in-chief.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Messages of Inspirational Stories. Jim, we are so excited this week, at least, well, I know you are, but I am super excited to be talking about fun things to do with your family. You know, we have so many things to talk about. I hope we can get them all in.
Well, if not, we'll carry it on for a couple of months, No, but really, folks, welcome to the show, and it's a pleasure for us to be here and fun things for the family, because right now, a lot of people are really worried about groceries and gas prices and all that, and there's stress all over the world. But the main thing of it is you do not stop living and loving on one another. That's very important.
Right.
And because love doesn't cost anything, it really doesn't. To be a loving friend or family member, I mean, even people that's not related to you as part of your family,
Right.
Because you can't live without them. That's for sure.
Right. Absolutely. Well, Jim, let's talk about a few of our national holidays.
Oh, okay. That sounds good to me. You want to kick it off?
I would. How about National Alaska Day?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
I would love to go to Alaska.
That's one thing my wife would like to do, is take a cruise, Alaskan cruise up there. And I was listening to Brad Upton. He's a tremendous comedian. He talks about millenniums. Brad Upton, if you like good entertainment, no four-letter words, he's funny. Brad Upton. And he was talking about he was up in Alaska, and he says one of the most common questions, because when the ship comes in, and right away they see these big high mountains in the background, and they say, "What's the elevation here?" You just got off a boat, you're at sea level.
Right. Exactly. Well, Alaska is still, it's kind of crazy to think about. We watch, my husband and I watch a lot of gosh, I guess we're eclectic, but we watch a lot of shows about history of places.
Yes.
And Alaska is fascinating because here we are in 2022, and still the best way to get around most of Alaska is by plane.
Yes, it really is. One of the shows they made up there in Alaska, shot up in Alaska, was Ice Road Truckers. I enjoy that because that is really a lot of hardships up there. Those truckers up there, they go through a lot more hardships than the average trucker does here in the lower 48, the continental United States.
Right.
And it's really fun. I know it's a TV show. I know they get prepare things and all that, but still, the reality of what they actually have to do, like the Dalton Highway, that's no joke. That thing, and when I say it's no joke, I mean there's a lot of danger and risk there. And no matter how many times or how long you've been there driving, can you imagine driving on ice and snow with no chains or anything like that? The only time they use chains is when they get ready to hit a hill or something like that.
Right. Yeah, that's a little crazy for me.
But Alaska does have a lot of areas that, it's just, say it's remote. I mean, it's not even close.
Right.
It's hardly I guess you can find it on a Google map, but I mean, as far as people actually setting foot on the ground there, few and far between. And that's where some people like to go and, just get away from it all. And it's a very beautiful state.
Oh, it's gorgeous. It's
Yeah.
absolutely gorgeous. So,
And
and that's a state where the bears outnumber the people.
oh, that's true. That's true. And some of the areas they get into are so remote, like you say, like some of the ice road truckers, they go to a place and get some of these little towns. Is when the river or lake is frozen and they can
Yeah,
drive over it, and they take the supplies that they will need for the year. Imagine that,
for
and
the
everything
year.
else. Yeah, imagine that. I mean, goodness, that's you got to be a special breed of cat to live in those conditions because we're spoiled here in the United
Hmm.
States. We drive down the street, stop in a convenience store or supermarket or whatever, and that's the way it used to be. We're going to get back there, but I mean, we're with 2020 and all the things that happened there and the gas prices and all. Uh, this is not going to go on forever because it all comes from a negative environment. And we like to talk about positive things like family environment and things of this nature because that's what makes life worth living.
It does. It does.
And oh my goodness, Donna, today is National Tapioca Day.
Now, I love homemade tapioca pudding,
Mm,
and I'm going to make my husband some when it starts to cool off a little bit.
mm,
um, he has only ever had store bought tapioca pudding. And he said, I don't like it. And I said, well, I understand that. Store bought tapioca pudding is horrible, in my opinion.
hmm. Oh, yeah.
I said, but trust me, homemade tapioca pudding is like heaven. It is
Mm,
just heaven. So yummy.
mm, absolutely. And that reminds me of something we're going to be talking about a little bit later in the show, and that's making some homemade ice cream. Mm,
I will, when we get to that, I will look it up and see
okay.
if I can't find it.
Okay. All right. But also, today is the National Family Day in Vietnam. June 28th every year. It was established back in 2001. And the Vietnamese family, I have a special connection there, being a Vietnam veteran, but I also have friends who are Vietnamese who came from Vietnam living in America. And one of them is my acupuncturist. And I was wondering if it's okay if I tell a little story out of school.
Sure.
Okay. Well, I had a sciatic nerve pain. And if those of you that's had that, you know that it aches. Okay. And so I went to the chiropractor a couple of times, and he, adjust me and all that, and it felt good. But the next day, I was right back down in the ditch. And so my wife suggested, "Why don't you go ahead and go to the acupuncturist?" And the acupuncturist, he was taught by his grandmother and mother in Vietnam, and he was from Saigon. Vietnam veterans, we recognize Saigon instead of Ho Chi Minh City. But anyway, he felt on my pulse in my right wrist. I kid you not now. He says, "Your problem's not in your back. Your problem's in your neck." And I looked at him and I thought, "There's nothing wrong with my neck." And then he came around, pushed in the left side of my back, neck. He says, "You feel that there?" And I said, "Yeah." And he says, "You hurt that a long time ago." And I said, "Yes, I did." And I remember the day I hurt it, or injured it, I should say. I had a steel pod on, radio on my back, and had my weapon on when I was in a helicopter. And I jumped just probably about, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 feet off. It was hovering over the ground. It wasn't a big jump or anything. But it just so happened the way I landed, it just, caught me in my neck there.
Right.
And the day's National Cat Day over at Donna's house. Every day's Cat Day there.
I know, but this one doesn't come by and say hi very often.
Mm-hmm.
That's Magnum.
Magnum, huh?
We call her Magnum A for short.
I hear you. And he took one of those little needles. And a lot of people have asked me, "Does it hurt?" No, it doesn't hurt. But anyway, he put it right in the back of my right hand right between my knuckles there, right in this area here. And he came back and he said, "You feel that there?" And I says, "No." He says, "Now try and lift your left leg." And I did, and I didn't have any pain. I go like, "What?"
Wow.
Yeah, that's the truth, ladies and gentlemen. And he said, "What happened was that you injured this here, and when he rolled me over on my side and punched, I forgot to mention, he rolled me over my side and pushed in between my shoulder blades." He says, "You feel that?" He says, "It went down to this between your shoulder blades. Now it's down to the sciatica, and if you don't get this corrected, you're going to be walking like this, like an old man, kind of humped over a little bit." And I said, "Well, let's get that thing fixed."
Right.
And he said about 3 or 4 trips. And I've been to him several times with pinched nerves and things of this nature. And one day I walked in. This is a funny story I want to tell out of school, because I got to know him real well, and he knew I was a Vietnam veteran. So we just had a lot of good common ground there. And I was teasing him. I says, "Hey, by the way, is there any chance, do you have any magic pins that can make me young and good looking?" He looked at me and he says, "What do you think I am, some kind of miracle worker?"
I love it.
And I cracked up laughing. I mean, it's just wonderful to have. It just goes to show you that friendships have no borders.
No.
Love has no borders. Energy has no borders. And
Right.
having fun with your family and your friends has no borders except between your ears.
Right.
And I've really treasured my friendship with him over the
Mm-hmm.
years.
Mm-hmm.
And Donna, today we're going to be talking about some fun things to do with the family. We started off yesterday, and there's a lot of things that you can do. One of the things, I don't think we mentioned it yesterday, was create a scavenger hunt, for with kids. And maybe, some of the neighborhood kids come over, or just use your imagination, but having a good old fashioned scavenger hunt.
I
That'd be
used to
fun.
I used to do that with my kids, and
Mhm,
we would do that for their not every birthday every year,
mhm,
but when they were a little younger, still in grade school, at least one time we would do a scavenger hunt with all their friends. And
mhm.
I'll tell you what, those kids were wicked excited over that. They just thought that was the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and to come up with, to me, that was what was so fun. It would be like um, one red beret with, a ladybug on it,
Mhm,
right? Or one yellow M&M.
mhm,
And so whoever came closest, obviously, is who won. But oh my gosh, it gets them excited. What
mhm,
I love about it is when you break them off in teams, they're having fun, they're working together
mhm,
as a team.
mhm.
They they are running, they're exercising, and they are just being children enjoying life.
Amen. That's one of the things that we forget as we get older. We
Oh,
forget to have fun. We
yeah,
really do. I mean, we forget to laugh at ourselves. We forget. I mean, look at the way kids will giggle.
right. Just
And
giggle to giggle.
oh yeah, I tell you, I get a kick out of watching kids giggle, and it's so much fun too. It really is. And
Hmm.
one of the things that I remember seeing with my kids was watching them play with the animals. That is just super, super fun, because the kids love the animals love the kids. And when you see that much love and energy interacting between them, it just vibrates. It really does. It's one of the most beautiful things that you'll see. It really is.
It really does. Jim, there are, gosh darn, there are so many things to do.
Mhm.
But if your kids are, um, I, th- I think most kids go through it where they're going to be a reporter. They see stuff on TV, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so what a great fun thing to help them have fun. Say, okay, you need to go interview three of our neighbors
Hmm.
and put together a story and have all
Hmm.
your children do it. Put
Hmm.
together a little story. And then on Saturday night, we're going to get everything all set up, and we're going to have, the news hour with all
Oh,
the,
yeah.
right, with all the kids. And,
Mhm.
they have to actually go out then and find that story and
Mhm.
work for it. And then they have to present it. So, again, the thing I love about doing these is we're teaching our children how to listen,
Mhm.
how to ask. We're
Mhm.
teaching them how to speak.
Mhm.
We're giving them an early lesson in speaking in front of people.
Mhm.
And all the time, it is FUN, fun.
It really is, Donna. And I like the way you say that because it gives them confidence to be able to talk on a little camera. They can, because
Right,
cell phones are like M&Ms nowadays with kids. Everybody's got them, and it's just
right.
a wonder. And
And
you
create
can,
a scrapbook for your kids and record them.
oh yeah, download it and record it
Save
and
it.
save it. Yeah, absolutely. That's very, very important because you can look back on it in times, and
Oh, it
when you get
slips so
older, oh
quick.
yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I was telling somebody the other day about how fast kids grow.
No.
There's a little kid I used to go to church with, and he, of course, they moved away, and got to notice he was going to get married. I go like, he's going to get married. Is he that old? I mean, just a few years ago, he's just about 5 or 6 or something.
Right, right,
But, but it's amazing how fast time slips by, and when you have something recorded on video, it's timeless.
right.
It really, really is.
Mhm.
And Donna, there's so many fun things to do. One of the things that I like to encourage people to do, and this would be a great thing, uh, is a cleanup project. And be able to, you could do it in the community. You could pick up trash in a city park or something like that. Or you could go over to someone's house
Who needs
that's
help?
elderly and just do a little cleanup. And the joy and the jubilee that they would get in their heart, seeing
Right.
the person, that the thankfulness of the person. I mean, it would just be a wonderful thing. It would
Mhm.
teach them the value of serving others. And that
Mm.
is the greatest gift you can give your kids. It really is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when we can do that, and unfortunately, I think almost on every street, we all know somebody who needs a little helping hand.
Hmm. Yeah.
Maybe they've been sick, maybe they've been in an accident, like you
Hmm.
said, maybe they're elderly. But
Hmm.
you know what? Um, if your kids really like it, say,
Hmm.
okay, let's do this twice a month, whatever works in your schedule,
Hmm.
and say there's four people, four families, houses on the street, and they're all needing a little extra help, a little
Hmm.
manpower. Say,
Hmm.
okay, then let's plan this out,
Hmm.
and then see if here's an idea. See if any of their friends want to come over and help.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And also, too, encourage your kids to make them a little card, just thinking of you today, whatever they want to do, let them use their own creativity.
Hmm.
Because when a kid makes a card, the most important thing is that make sure it's not perfect. So that means you don't do anything with them.
Right.
Leave it, let it be kiddish and give it to them. I was thinking about that before we went live today. What a wonderful thing that would be for to be able to get in touch with a retirement home where elderly people are kept and find out
Yes.
people there who don't receive much or don't have any visitors and find out a little bit about them. Tell me your kids want to do a special project and go over there one Saturday afternoon or something and present them with a card. You know,
Right. Or find out how many people are in that home.
yes.
And, if you have a bunch of friends who have kids,
Hmm.
call up the moms and dads and let them know what you're doing and
Oh
say, hey,
yeah.
we're going to go to such and such, and there's about 60, 70 people in there, and
Oh yeah.
we want to make them all a card. Would
Yes.
your kids, would you guys like to be involved
Yes. Exactly. Could be a
and make
wonderful little project.
Right. Little community project within your
Mhm.
own, your own sphere of people.
Exactly. And the beautiful thing of that is think about the joy and the jubilee and the love and appreciation that the kids would get from that elderly person. That is a tremendous,
Mhm.
that will impress them tremendously. They will see firsthand the value in giving and serving others and helping those that, that they can. Because that's why we're here on planet Earth. Every one of us is to love and serve others. That's
Right.
what makes life worth living.
Jim, I think this one is a lot of people are doing it right now,
Hmm.
um, especially with the skyrocketing price of groceries.
Oh yeah.
But a lot of people are planting gardens.
Hmm. Yes. Yes, they are.
And so I think, if that's something that you're interested or your kids are interested in, that is such an amazing family joint effort.
Hmm. Oh
Uh,
yeah.
Jim, you grew up on a farm. I grew up um, doing that. I know I come from people who do that, and my kids grew up watching me
Hmm.
wherever we lived, whether it was in Kansas, whether it was in Ohio, was it, wherever we lived.
Hmm.
They don't remember Washington; they were a little too small, but um, I always had food growing. Always had some food growing. And that's huge because it teaches children how to care for something, right?
Hmm.
How you get the soil ready,
Hmm.
what the reasons why. Because if you do it this way and just put it in the ground, the ground's hard. It's not going to be able to break
Hmm.
through and grow and etc. So when you teach them why you have to break up the soil and
Hmm.
what, depending on where you live, if you
Hmm.
need additives in the soil, like
Hmm.
here in Arizona, trust me, we need a bunch of additives. It's hard to grow in caliche clay.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And if you don't have a green thumb or anything like that, or you've never planted anything other than just maybe a house plant or something like that, go to YouTube because YouTube videos are just great. You can find just about anything and everything on there and share that with the kids and say, hey, find something that you can,
Yep.
realistically do on your budget and just say, hey, would you guys be interested in us putting in a garden, and us growing our
Right.
own plants, And it teaches them responsibility too, because there's something about growing up on a farm. If you get your hands dirty and you're working with dirt and things of this nature, um, there's just something about that sticks with you. It
Right.
really does.
It does.
And it's a very positive thing too. It
Hmm.
it truly is. And
Yeah.
Donna, one of the things that I always enjoyed playing that was charades.
Oh, yeah.
That never gets old.
Nope.
That never gets old. And it's so
There's,
important to be able to develop your child's uh, creativity on the inside because we all have a certain amount of creativity, some more than others. But
right.
let them use their imagination. That's half the
Oh,
fun. Oh yeah, that's half the fun. And watching
it
the
is.
expression on their faces, and be sure and you know hold up your cell phone and make sure you film that.
Right.
Yeah, because that's another family classic. I mean,
Oh,
we're
absolutely.
so blessed today with all the technology we have at our fingertips.
Oh, yeah, we are. And it's funny because, um, well, we are blessed, but it's
Hmm.
also in a way a curse, in my opinion,
Hmm. You're right.
because we have so much technology that unless our children are in front of a computer, not
Hmm.
all children, so don't get me wrong, not all
Hmm.
children, or they have a phone or something that they can play with, they're not getting outside and they're not getting that stimulation from using their imagination.
Yes.
And that's what we grew up with, that imagination, that because we didn't have a lot growing up, right? We had to make up our own stuff.
Yeah, we
we
didn't know
made
we were poor till we went to town.
we made our own forts, we made up our own games. I
Oh
mean, there's
yeah.
just playing hide and go seek. That
Mm.
is still fun.
Oh, yeah.
That is still fun to play hide and go seek.
I remember as a kid, I used to have these blocks of wood, and one of them was a bulldozer, and I'd make my little roads in the dirt and all that. And, really, when you stop and think about it, I saw this with my grandkids. When they have simple things to play with outside, they
Yes.
create and they do things with things that you wouldn't even think of
Right.
because they're using their creativity, and you're just standing there looking like, okay, well, that's interesting.
Right. I wouldn't have thought of that in a million
Yeah.
years. Hmm.
Because Colton, I remember when my grandson was small, I'd come up here where we live in the country, and we had a little red wagon, yeah, little radio flyer. We had to have certain things for the kids. And he went into the garage and got some rope, and he tied, the red wagon, and he tied another little cart to it, and he put his sisters in there, and he was pulling them around. Yeah, and I mean, all three of them loved it.
Right.
And, I wasn't smart enough at the time. Of course, I didn't have cell phones back in would take cameras. That's back around 2000 or something. But, I was a laggard when it come to technology. I didn't even have a pager till about 1997 because I didn't want anybody to get a hold of me. And I think we got our first cell phone around 98 or something like that. But, I just didn't need it. Now
Right.
I get ready to go somewhere. Oh, where's my cell phone? Oh,
Right.
like I can't go anywhere without my cell phone. We get addicted to them. We really
Yeah.
do.
Right.
But it's just amazing. You give them a chance to use their imagination and let them go because the simple things that kids love playing with, it
Oh,
will shock
absolutely.
you.
Hmm.
It will shock you if you just give them a chance. It just, I mean, a stick and a wheel, and I mean, they can make that thing go and roll it and have all kind of fun, and you wouldn't even think of that. You really wouldn't.
Right. Right. So, this one never gets old for children or adults.
Okay.
You can do it several ways. You can have a squirt gun fight, a water balloon fight. Right. I did the water balloon uh, fights for, well, not, it wasn't a fight, but a water balloon birthday party,
Hmm.
and see who could get who. And
Hmm.
I think the last one I did, I think I probably had somewhere around 300 balloons.
Oh my goodness.
Man, I got to tell you, my fingers hurt like crazy from tying those little suckers in
Mm.
a knot.
Hmm.
Holy cow. But how much fun is that on a hot day?
Hmm. Oh yeah. I remember in Tucson we had some balloons there at the business where I was at, and they had some helium, and they had it for balloons for special occasions and all that. So one day, us being guys, hey, let's send up
So,
some balloons. And we actually attached our business card to the end of the string. And I received a call. I don't remember where it was. This is back in the 80s, 85, 86, somewhere in there. I actually received a phone call from this guy. He said, yeah, he was riding out on this property out in New Mexico.
oh my goodness.
I'm telling you true. And this is the first and only time that we did that. And the first and only time this happened, I should say. And he said, I saw something blue or yellow, whatever color the balloon was. And he says, I went over there and your card was attached to the end of it. He says,
Wow.
did you send this thing from Tucson? I said, yes, sir, we did. And I remember one day, one of the older guys, he came out, what are you guys doing? Oh, we're not doing what it was. What do you always say when you're asked what you're doing? This never changes. Nothing.
Right.
And he strung up a bunch of balloons and he tied a stick to it and he threw it up in the air. I kid you not, this thing went across Broadway there in Tucson.
Oh, I know where Broadway is. Yeah.
Yeah. And we were at Broadway, Wilmot's where we're located at. Anyway, it went across Broadway and I thought, oh man, he's going to hit some cars or something. And this guy comes out The wind had carried those balloons over the building, and here's this a little block of wood coming, and he sees this string of block of wood, and he grabs the string, a block of wood, and he's holding it. He can't see the balloons, and he's standing there looking like, what do I have here? And we're cracking up laughing at him.
Oh my goodness.
But I
Oh my
mean, you
goodness.
can go to a welding shop and pick up a small container of helium and the balloons and all that. And that is a fun thing to do. It really is. And having a water fight, oh my goodness gracious, especially on a
Mhm.
hot day, mm, invite the
Right?
kids over. Garden hose with you maybe not the sprinkler, that might be a little, because kids will, they'll be dangerous with that. You don't want to hit a kid in the eye with the water or anything.
Oh no.
I mean, we would never do that growing up. We never did.
Well,
Are you looking
next
around for
subject.
lightning hit me? Yeah. Yeah. Meanwhile, back at the ranch,
Right?
I'll tell you, growing up, I think the good Lord was with us as we got to help him. He just ain't that smart.
Some of the other things, like I was just thinking about this. If you do a garden, and I know we just talked about it and we moved on, but if you do a garden, have your kids make a scarecrow.
That's a brilliant idea.
Have them make a scarecrow for the garden. Get the garden
Mhm.
all put in, and then have them make a scarecrow,
Oh, that's a brilliant idea. It
right?
really is.
Because
That'd be fun.
right, it's another process to the garden to help keep stuff away, but it's just fun, and they can
Hmm.
use. It doesn't matter if it's just rags that you've got sitting in the garage that
Hmm.
they can, put together. And if you don't sew, staple them.
Hmm. Yeah,
Just yeah,
exactly.
just
Glue
have
it.
fun. Yeah, glue it, staple them.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter. Just have fun and let
Oh,
your
yeah.
imagination go and let your kids' imagination grow. And I
Hmm.
think as we cultivate, I was lucky when my children were very young. I stayed home and made a lot of sacrifices to do that. But it was
Hmm.
important to me to be a stay-at-home mom as long as I could.
Hmm.
And then obviously later on, I couldn't.
Hmm.
But I always tried to do lots and lots of summer fun things with them
Oh, yeah.
because that was just so important. I looked forward to summer break as much as they did.
Hmm.
I loved hanging out with my kids. I loved
Hmm.
doing stuff with my kids.
Yeah, I hear you. It's amazing. I was going to share with you. We were going to have our great grandgirls up last week, and because Ruben was sick and they didn't know if he had COVID or not, but anyway, they played it safe. But they're coming up this weekend.
Oh,
But
nice.
but last weekend, in preparation for them, Evelyn went to the dollar store and she brought home, I think it's about 4 or 5 different hula hoops. And I'm telling you, I can't wait to see those girls with the hula hoops. Now, I never could get a hula hoop to go around, around, around. I can get it going around my wrist, no problem. But around my waist, I just didn't have the hips for it, Donna.
Well, maybe you can watch your great
I'm going to
grandbabies
watch
at
them.
yours.
I'm going to watch them. Yeah, I'm going to watch. And it's going to be fun because Lisa will be here and Michaela will be here and the great granddaughters will be here. Really looking forward to that. But I mean, the hula hoops, my goodness gracious, those kids, simple little thing like that,
Hmm. Hmm.
it will amaze you because I know what to expect with kids because I understand the way kids' mind work, having grandkids and all that. So it's going to be a treat for me to watch them.
Oh, absolutely.
They think.
Another thing that's really fun is, and you can make your own. The recipe is on Google. It's super
Mhm.
easy. But have a bubble contest with bubbles. Whoever
Mhm.
makes the most biggest bubble or whatever,
Mm.
how much
Yeah.
fun. Now I bought bubbles for our grandchildren and I think it was last summer. and I laughed so hard because my little grandson, he's kind of he's been real excited, and then you know how great kids they're a little bit tired, but then they don't
Mhm.
want to admit they're tired. So
Mhm.
he's holding the bubble bottle like this, and I'm watching it come out, and I stand up and you know take his wrist and say, "Honey, you got to hold it this way." And
Mhm.
pretty soon it go back down there, and I said, "Okay, we're gonna put the lid on, and then when you need it," and he's like, "Why?" I said, "Because well, you're spilling all the bubbles, and sweetheart, you're gonna slip on the patio. Trust me."
Mhm.
It'll be a whoosh, and you're right on your keister hurting. But bubbles are fun for grandkids, for little
They
ones,
are. They
and
are fun.
big kids too,
Mhm. Yeah, and they'll probably draft you and want you to blow a few bubbles, so, just enjoy the fun. It really is.
right?
One of the things that I always treasured making when growing up on the farm was homemade ice cream.
And I
We did it the old-fashioned way. We had a round wooden type bucket, and we had the stainless steel center, the container on the inside, and in between the container, the stainless steel container, and the wood bucket, if you want to call it that, we put ice in there, and then we put salt on top of that, and we had a hand crank, and we
right,
turned it and we turned it, and all the kids would take turns turning it
because your
because,
arm would fall off.
yeah, because the important thing there, that's a great time to teach kids. Whenever you got to do something, the reason why you're making this ice cream is for the result that
Right,
you're going to enjoy. And that's a great way to teach them about doing things that may not like to do in life. For us adults, for example, like cleaning out the garage. Okay.
right.
Uh, Now, this is just for the guys. If you get ready to clean out your garage, you know it's going to be a JAWB.
Hmm.
So keep your mind focused on what it's going to be like once it's done. And make sure you organize things and put labels on boxes or drawers or whatever you got there. So when you go looking for something, you can just look at the labels and kind of zero in where it should be. But the thing for guys, what you label as treasures, your wife will say that's trash. At least that's been my experience. So make sure you organize your treasures neatly, get them out of sight, and you'll be good to go. But the main thing is in any task like that is be focused on how you're going to feel. Like this ice cream, like how's it going to taste when we're done, you
Well,
know?
I've got a fun little thing here. So this is you can make ice cream in a mason jar. So it's kind
Really?
of yeah. So it's kind of fun because if you go to the thrift store, you happen to have some or what have you, and you do mason jars, you can everybody can have their own ice cream, right? So you take a cup of heavy cream,
Hmm.
1.5 tablespoons of sugar,
Hmm.
1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and a
Mm.
pinch of salt. And then you can add, hi, Niner. You can
Add a cat's tail to
add
it.
a cat's tail to it and stir it up and see how it comes out. Uh, but you can add fruit or whatever you want to it. And then you
Hmm.
shake it for 5 minutes.
Hmm.
Okay. Shake it really hard for 5 minutes. And then you freeze it for 3 hours.
Mm.
So that, if you don't have the old fashioned kind, that's a
Hmm.
fun way for everyone to do individual ice creams.
Yeah, have different flavors. Yeah,
Yep.
and share. Yeah,
Yeah.
and we'll share. Take some of little Johnny's ice cream and take some of little Mary's ice cream, and
Yep.
and just share. And yeah, you're exactly right. Oh, when you were talking about that, it reminds me that Evelyn is going to do a project with the great grandgirls when they come up, the little kids.
The
She's going
little
to make.
humans.
Yeah, she has a recipe. She's going to try to make homemade butter.
Oh, that's fun to make. I've
Oh,
made that.
you've done that? I never have. I've never been around. Well, let's see. Yes, we did make butter on the farm, but I don't recall how it was done, to be honest with you. I
Yeah.
really don't. And but you've actually made homemade butter, huh?
Yeah, I didn't. I it didn't start out. Let's just say it didn't start out to be that way. But it was funny because we were living in Washington and we were making it was Christmas or Thanksgiving dinner, and uh, my family always knew, my in-laws and stuff always knew I made everything from scratch. Well, the place that my mother-in-law lived at, it was just hotter than the blazes of hell. I mean, we had the windows open, and it was one of those apartments where she lived at the time. It was like a motel apartment. You know what I mean? What all
Yeah.
the doors in the hallway,
Hmm.
and so it was really still hard to get circulation, and it
Hmm.
was so hot. So I'm trying to whip the cream,
Hmm.
and it was so hot in the kitchen that it turned to butter. And I remember going, well, this just is not going to work. And my sister in law said to me, she said, what? And I said, well, I just made butter. And she looked at me and God love her. And she started laughing. She goes, she didn't make butter. That's just so stupid.
Hmm.
And I looked at her. I said, taste this. And she went, oh my God, Donna, that's butter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I've made
Mhm.
butter.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's recipes on all of this on online you
Yes.
can find. And remember, YouTube, you can watch different YouTubes and get a good idea on how to, you know, because different people will use different things in their
Right.
recipes. It's just, personal like that.
Right.
And, but that would give you a great idea on what it is that you have within your resources, what you want to make.
Hmm.
And Donna, that's a great idea about the individual ice cream, making the different flavors because,
Yeah.
oh goodness, because we has had, one flavor. Usually it was just vanilla we made, as far as the ice cream. And
Well, and gosh, with so many fruits coming into season right now,
mm,
you can cut them up
yes,
and
ma'am.
have them ready, and you can have all the kinds of toppings maybe that you
Mm-hmm.
want to put in your ice cream for everybody
Mm.
already laid out, so that when you mix it and then you shake it, then you can have everything ready to go that last minute, kind of give it another quick mix and then freeze it.
Oh yeah. As you're talking about that, that remind me of my Aunt B, Aunt Beatrice McCombs. My goodness gracious, there were wild grapes that grew there on the farm in North Carolina. And the grapes are spelled Muscadine, muscadine.
Hmm.
But we always pronounce it in Southern slang, muscadine. Okay. But muscadine grapes, they grew wild. They were super sweet. I remember they were kind of a burgundy brown color. And I used to go down there and pick those things and eat them. But my Aunt B, she used to take those muscadines and she used to turn them into jams and jellies. And
Hmm.
oh my goodness, those things were delicious. And it's just, of course, back on the farm there, growing up and being a kid in the 50s, it was very common for people to make things at home, homemade. People bought just simple things, flour and sugar and, milk and whatever, eggs. And I mean, they just went from there.
Right. It's been a hot minute since I've done it, but I've used to can all kinds of stuff, make all kinds of jams and
Mm,
jellies and what have you.
mhm,
And of course, again, it's so hot here in the
mhm,
summertime
mhm,
that if you're sane, you don't want to be in
mhm,
the kitchen.
mhm. Yeah, sure, sure. So this fall, when it cools off, we're all going to go over to Donna's house and make
Right.
jams and jellies. We're
That's right. That's right.
yeah,
But there's
that'd be
even,
fun.
I just want to say too, guys, that there's even jams that you can make that are freezer jam,
Yes, that's right.
that they
Yeah.
go in the freezer.
Mhm,
And so if you're not in the position to where you can get the canning jars and seal them proper,
mhm,
because that's kind of pricey, right? That's kind of pricey. So if you're not in that position, but there is all kinds that you can do that are freezer recipe jams.
mhm.
And
Oh,
that's a
yeah,
fun project to do with the kids too.
it really is.
I mean, what kid doesn't like, different jams and jellies and what have you?
Mm. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And to be able to be part of it and to teach them
Yes.
something. Yeah,
Yes.
that's very important because getting the mind and the hands coordinated, that's the secret. Because
Right.
it doesn't take much thinking to, just get on a computer, or Game Boy or whatever, the cell phones and all that. It really doesn't.
Well, I told the story, oh, it must have been a couple of weeks ago. I don't know how we got on it, Jim.
Mhm,
But when my two oldest, when Josh and Gaia were little, we
mhm,
were in Kansas, and I sent them out back to pull some carrots for dinner.
mhm,
So my dad had given me his radio flyer, and I said, "Well, just
mhm.
take the wagon and go pull some carrots because, they were pretty teeny." And man, they were so excited. They came back and they had some carrots. They pulled every dadgum carrot I had.
Mm,
I mean, I had some, and I didn't grow the really big ones, right? I was growing the smaller ones.
mhm.
So I had, some nice size ones about yay big. And then they even pulled up the ones that were about this big. And but they were so proud of themselves because
Oh,
they
yeah.
went and pulled the carrots like I asked them to.
Oh,
Now
yeah.
it was my fault because I didn't say only pull 10.
Mhm.
So they pulled every single one I had. And so of course, I never got mad at them because they looked so cute and they were so proud and they were covered in dirt and they were just smiling from ear to ear. But that hands on experience,
Mm.
right? All my children remember going out and getting something from the garden at one time or the other.
Oh, yeah. I remember growing up on the farm there, we used to grow cantaloupes.
Oh yeah.
And, I mean, vine ripened cantaloupes.
Hmm.
Oh my goodness. They are sweet. They
Yes, they
are
are.
sweet and they're delicious. And when I went in the service, I thought, oh boy, they got cantaloupe, and I picked up a cantaloupe
What is
and
this?
they must have picked this thing when it was still green because it tasted okay, but it was not
It
vine
didn't have the
ripened.
sweetness.
Mm-mm, it did not. And that was a big disappointment for me.
I grew
And,
cantaloupe in Kansas
mhm,
and on this little corner in the backyard. And our
mhm,
backyard was kind of funny. It had a very huge, and I do mean a huge play pool, lap pool. And there was
mhm,
a lot of cement around it. And so there was only a little patch of yard. So my garden was in flower beds, right? Everywhere. And I
mhm.
grew cantaloupe and they took off. And it happened to be right by the back gate going in the alley where you had to take the trash out. So the cantaloupe grew and they grew and they grew. So we would have to literally go out there and pick up the cantaloupe vines and move them to open the gate to take the trash out in the alley. But
Yeah.
and those cantaloupe weren't very big. They was only about that big around.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Mhm.
Holy cow, they were sweet.
Oh, yeah. We go to a farmer's market and we like to pick up, fresh vegetables there and fruits because it's
Hmm.
homegrown or, on a farm. And that's a tremendous treat. It's a lot. I'm not knocking any supermarket's produce
Right.
aisle or anything like that, but I'm just saying the process it has to go through from the time it's been picked to the time it gets delivered to the produce store. Uh,
It's a
if they
little
picked it,
longer.
yeah, when if they picked it when it was ripe, it wouldn't
It'd
be.
be right. It
It,
would be
it'd be spoiled.
rotten. Hmm.
Yeah, it sure would be.
Yeah.
And, save some of those seeds because you can plant those things, right?
Yeah. Well, here's a fun fact. I don't know how
Okay.
many of y'all know this, but if you take an onion, green onions are good
Hmm.
for it. Or any kind of onion, and when you cut off the end, put it in a toothpick and put it in water, and it'll root. Same with
Really?
celery. Yes. Same with celery. Same with you can do it with potatoes.
Hmm.
Uh, you can root them and then put them in the dirt. But yeah, you can. There are so many things that you can do that from.
Wow, that'd be a nice little project for kids to see something grow like it that they
Mhm.
created. Yeah, it really would be. You see me keep looking around a little bit. We're having a lightning storm here, so
Oh,
it,
well, I hope you get some rain. We've been getting rain and
mhm,
some heavy stuff. So if we need
yeah,
to, well, we're almost out of time. So if we need to jump off, well, there you
mhm,
go.
yeah, I hear you. And of course, we put up the charity that we like to talk about, the Shelter to Soldier. My
Yes.
goodness gracious, the work those folks do with the dogs and with PTSD and TBIs and just all sorts of things. They've been around now for 10 years. They're going to be celebrating their 10th anniversary in August, and we're going to be talking with them, maybe putting on a special show on a Friday about the Shelter to Soldier because it's such
Mhm.
a wonderful thing. And dogs, we're animal lovers here. We had dog week here recently, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Mhm.
And
And we were
obviously,
what?
it's always cat day.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Always dog day too there with Jake. And I got my grand puppy with me, and she's been staying with us now for several weeks, and she's really been enjoying it, and we've been enjoying having her. And when it comes to these special dogs, and we've talked before how dogs can be kind of like a service dog or a companion dog would be the best way to
Hmm.
put it. And if you do have a friendly little pup, check with the folks at the elderly home there where they have elderly people and see if it's okay if you can come in with your kids one day and bring the pup in and just let the pup and just be introduced to people and because it brings back special memories. I remember one time my mother-in-law had suffered 2 strokes and she had a little bit of dementia, and so her memory was intact because sometimes I could sit down and talk to her about something happened 30, 40 years ago and she
Right.
was there.
Yep.
And one day we were talking about this shoe company because they owned a shoe store, and we talked about this one salesman. And that's back in the old days, and salesmen would come around in the 50s, 60s, and
Right.
70s. It started fading out in the 70s. And I says, that guy worked for a shoe company, and me and Evan were talking about it, and Mom was just sitting there. She's having her breakfast, and she looked right up and she named the shoe company right off the top of her head like that and went
Wow.
back to eating. Because the old term long term memory is still there.
Yes.
It
Yes.
is
It's
still
short
there.
term memory that they have trouble with.
That's correct. That's
Hmm.
correct. And so therefore, like taking a dog into like an elderly home there with elderly folks, I mean, it'd take them back to a time where it was, you know, love and just genuine when life was good for them.
Yep.
Kind of like listening to an old song on the radio and it takes you back. Wow, it's good times.
Yes, it is.
That's how Marty Hager got Donna. He you cried on every. I think you cried on every single show he was on with us, didn't you? There
Well,
might have been one.
I
There,
think he, I think he, no, he did. He made me cry 3 times.
Tears of Joy, Mr.
Yes.
Marty Hager, there, buddy.
Although I did tease him about that, and when
Yeah.
we were in Texas with
Oh
him
yeah.
in May,
Oh
and he
yeah.
just laughed and he said, "Oh, but we always have fun, don't we, girl?"
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I tell you right now, having Marty as a friend is one of the true blessings of life because having a true
Absolutely.
friend, what they do in life is irrelevant. Doesn't matter if they're like Marty, if he's a country and western star. His dad was Merle Haggard. It doesn't matter about that. What matters to them is that do they have family and friends around them that love them and care about them as a person. And that's what we need to do because getting ready to close here is so important for us to love ourselves.
Right,
Love ourselves first because then you can love others because you cannot give anything that you do not possess.
right. You cannot
Because
give from an empty cup.
that's right. That's right. And when you love yourself and you share that love with others, and for people that's different than you in their religious beliefs, their political beliefs, whatever beliefs are, you can agree to disagree, still love the person, but you can, you know, just don't let them be in your life to where it becomes an argument or anything like that. Because I've got good friends that I disagree with on things, but we just don't talk about those topics.
Right, right.
That's all. That's all. Because after all, I mean, I don't know everything and they don't either. So that's
Mhm.
we shouldn't let that destroy a beautiful relationship as far as being a friend. And let's face it, we're all brothers and sisters by different mothers.
Right?
Regardless if we're male, female, if we're black or white, that's irrelevant. That doesn't matter because we're all souls with a heart and a spirit. And we all crave love. And you can't live without it.
Nope.
You really can't. And Donna, if I don't hush, we're never going to get off the air.
Yeah, they're gonna kick us out in about 35 seconds. So buddy, you gotta wrap it up quick or I'm gonna.
Thank you so much for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow, Donna, we got to play Two Truths and One Lie.
Yes, yes.
We're going to do it 3 times at 15 after, 30 after, and 45 till. So,
I gotta be thinking up some lies.
yeah, me too. You got any good ones?
Well, you'll find out tomorrow, buddy.
I guess I will. So I'll be here. Make sure you're here and share the show with others. Thank you again for tuning in. Have a nice evening. Bye bye, folks.
Bye.